Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Wisdom Wednesday for this week. So this week's Wisdom Wednesday is going to be a little bit different than our normal Wisdom Wednesday. So normally on Wisdom Wednesday, I'll pick a spiritual topic based on the energies that we're working with for the week. And then we'll discuss that topic. I'll give you tools, tips, and techniques that you can use to better utilize that energy. This week, on the other hand, I felt the deep guidance to present an EFT tapping. And what we're going to be tapping on is forgiveness. Now, before we get into the tapping, before we get into any of that, let's first kind of dive into what is EFT. And EFT simply stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. And that is where you tap on different meridians within the body to help you to release certain aspects. Hey, Karen, thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. Hey, Helen, thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. And so that's where we tap on different parts of the body in order to help us to release pent up emotions or different energetic blocks. And that's what the EFT is for. Now, EFT is not just, I'm going to tap and there we go, it's released. We also use the frequency of our voices, our words, so that way we can better release things. And I will be saying, different sentences or words, phrases together. And if those don't fit for you, that's okay. You can instead replace it with things that do fit for you, that are better in alignment with what it is that you want to release. Then we're going to come to the second aspect of the EFT, which is the topic, and that is forgiveness. Now, when I talk about forgiveness, this is where a lot of people will, kind of go, because forgiveness is not something that a lot of people like to talk about. This is the way that I view forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about you forgiving a person. It's not about you forgiving an action. It's not about you doing any of those things or condoning bad behaviors. Forgiveness is when you are willing to stop focusing on the story, which is the judgment that you have, and you're willing to set yourself free. That is what forgiveness is to me, because you really don't need forgiveness until you have judged. And really, if we look at the world is always happening from us. It's not happening to us. So if we see something in the world that we do not like, then it's not about us going into the story or the judgment about it. Instead, let's stop and say, okay, what must I believe in order for this to be happening? Maybe, you believe, maybe someone cut you off in traffic. So you believe that people are just inconsiderate. People can't be a blessing in your life. People are rude. People don't know how to drive. People in certain types of cars don't know how to drive. Or people in certain types of cars are just assholes. Whatever the case may be, we want to stop ourselves from going into the judgment, and instead what we want to start doing is we want to start being like, okay, I forgive myself for this judgment. That way you are setting yourself free. And I'm going to repeat it again. You forgive because you are setting yourself free. You're setting yourself free from the judgment. You're setting yourself free from the story. And you have a willingness to allow spirit to show you the truth. That is what forgiveness is in it for me. That is how I view forgiveness. That is why I focus so much on it, because it is such a wonderful way for us to free ourselves from our own judgments, from our own stories. And then we start to see the healing. Now, we don't see the healing because we forgave, okay? And I want to make that really, really clear. We see the healing because we are willing to let go of the story, we are willing to let go of the judgment. That is why we see the healing. That is why forgiveness is so important. We don't forgive in order to see, this person healed or to see this situation healed. We forgive in order to have our minds healed, because where is the world coming from? The world is coming from you. It's not happening to you. And once again, I understand that is not necessarily a viewpoint that a lot of people enjoy or like to hear about. But that is just how I view it. And that is why I'm such a stickler when it comes to forgiveness. And that's why I have my online course that I do, where it's 2 days of intensive forgiveness work. And it's intensive only because you have to come to that realization. You have to be like, okay, I see the judgment. And that's kind of what we do in day 2. In day 1, we just kind of talk more in depth about forgiveness and more about what we need to forgive in day 1. And then day 2 is where we really get into that healing process. So that's just my view on forgiveness. It's not about forgiving the person. It's not about forgiving the behavior. It's not about condoning the behavior. It's about not keeping the judgment, not keeping the story, not keeping the resentment, not keeping the guilt, not keeping the shame or the blame. That is the crux of forgiveness, because you only need forgiveness if you have already judged. It's the only reason you need forgiveness. So you can ask yourself, where have I been judging? Where have I judged? And do I want to keep that judgment? Because then it kind of brings us back to, do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? And so the do I want to be right aspect of it is, do I want to be right that people can't be a blessing in my life? Do I want to be right that people that drive a certain type of car are just assholes? Do I want to be right that people just don't know how to treat me? Do I want to be right that people are all outside of me and I have no power and I am powerless? Do I want to be right about those things, or do I want to choose happiness? And if I want to choose happiness, that means I'm choosing forgiveness. And if I'm choosing forgiveness, I'm choosing to set myself free from those stories and judgments that I have placed. Because a good majority of the time, we do not see things in the present now moment. A good majority of the time, what we actually see is our past reasserting itself in the present moment because it looks similar to what we had already experienced. So our minds automatically say, okay, well, this looks very similar, so it's bound to happen the same way. And then we see that manifest. So that's just my viewpoint on forgiveness and why I think it's so important and what is the importance of doing it. As soon as your peace is disturbed, as soon as you start to see someone less than the light that they are, or as the Course in Miracles says, less than the holy child of God. And once we do that, once we kind of slip into that, we want to do our best to shift over to forgiveness. Not because we want the situation healed or to work out for us, but because we want the truth, because we want to free ourselves from the story. Why do I keep reiterating that? Why do I keep saying that same phrase over and over again? And the reason that I do is because I want to hit that point home. It's not about you forgiving it in order to make the situation what you think it should be. It's not in order for you to forgive in order for the person that you're forgiving to be well. You are forgiving because you want freedom. You are forgiving because you want to be free of that idea, that judgment, or that belief. That's the crux of that forgiveness. And we do it to set ourselves free. So that's why I just keep on reiterating it. And I keep saying it in different ways over and over again, because we don't realize how much we do that. And the other thing about the forgiveness is it's not, your job is just the acknowledgement. You're not the healer. That's not your job. Your job in forgiveness is only to come to the acknowledgement of what the belief is, or what the idea is, or what the resentment is, the way you're seeing the person, whatever the case is. That's your job. Spirit does the rest, because Spirit can only do for you what you are willing to really give it. So spirit can only take from you what you are willing to give to it freely and completely. So you might be saying to yourself that you're really willing to give this over. You really want to. But then let's say that we're just going to take this whole car analogy because it's just a really easy one. So we'll take the car analogy. So you're really willing to give this up. You're really willing to give this over. You're like, I don't want it anymore. It does not serve a purpose. I'm done with it. So let's say that you do that work. You do your forgiveness. You feel that you've let it go to the best of your ability. And then 2 seconds later, bam, someone cuts in front of you. Now you have two choices. You always have a choice. That's the beauty of life. You have a choice. You can choose to automatically go into that judgment again, and that's absolutely fine if you do. And then you just get to do the forgiveness all over again. Or in that instant, you can say, you know what? Spirit, you decide for me about this. I've already given it over to you, so I'm going to let you decide, because our ego knows that's something that gets to us. And so the ego's job is always to keep us in that state of separation, which is what? A state of judgment. Because if you're judging, that means that you are seeing someone or something else as less than, or even more than. And what we want to do is we want to be like, no. That's not what I want. I want to see the truth instead of this. That's what I want. I want to see the truth instead of my dream, instead of my judgment, instead of my story. I'll say in 500 different ways, whatever is going to work. But that's why we want to practice it. And that's why we want to do it, because our ego is going to throw it back at us. Now, it's not your job to handle the retaliation of the ego. Once again, that's spirit's job. You just have to make that conscious choice and say, you know what? I've given this over. So spirit, I'm giving it back over to you. Please don't let me use this for my destruction. Instead, please use this for the coming of my peace. Or spirit, you decide for me. Or if you want to go even deeper, then you could say, I am the Son of God, and God has willed that his Son come to no harm. And so I shall come to no harm. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can say it. It's just a matter of whatever works for you. If God is not something that you enjoy, then great, use a different word. Compassion, divine source, divine compassion, the pink and purple polka dotted spaghetti monster in the sky, like whatever works for you. That's the whole point. It's about you attuning to your higher power. And what you will begin to see is, yes, you will see the healing. You will begin to see it less and less and less. Once again, why are you seeing it less and less and less? You're seeing it because you truly are willing to give it over to spirit. You're allowing spirit to heal that aspect of your mind. You're saying, I don't want this. I want to see the truth. So here you go, spirit. I'm handing it over to you. And that's it. And like I said, it's spirit's job to handle the retaliation of the ego, which means, ego throwing it back at you, being like, look over here, judge it, judge it, judge it. Because that's what the ego wants us to do. It wants us to judge. It wants us to stay in that state of separation, where spirit wants us to come into that state of union, that state of grace. So now that we have gone over that, and I hope that has been helpful in my explanation of forgiveness and why we practice it, so forth and so on. So now let's get into the practical exercise for today, which is the tapping. Okay, which is the tapping part. Now, what we're going to do first, since, I can't necessarily personalize it for every person here, we are going to do just kind of like a generalized forgiveness. And so the way we're going to start that, if you're not familiar with EFT tapping, don't worry about it. Super simple, super easy to do. All you have to do is just follow along with me, and you can keep your eyes open for the first half, or you can close them if you're familiar with EFT. But I will be guiding you through the whole entire thing, where to tap, how to tap, and so forth and so on. So let's go ahead and let's begin our tapping. So first, if you are crossed anywhere, like I just had my legs crossed, so uncross yourself. If your arms are crossed, legs are crossed, whatever's crossed, uncross it now. And if you can, either, just kind of sit up. And if you can't, then that's okay. Don't worry about it. And what I want you to do is before we start, I want you to just sit down or lie down. And I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose. And we're going to hold it. And then we're just going to let it out the mouth slowly and deeply, like we're blowing out a candle. So it could look like this. And again, we're going to take a deep breath in. We're going to hold it. And then we're just going to let it out the mouth like we're blowing out a candle. And one more time, deep breath in. We're going to hold it. And then we're going to let it out again. And now as you are sitting there or lying there, I want you to think in your mind if there is any place where you are holding a judgment against yourself, a situation, a person, an idea, whatever that may be. And I want you to give a rating on that from 0 being like, whatever, it doesn't even matter to me, to 10, watch me, I will die on this hill. Okay, for this judgment, because it's just true and you can't change my mind. So just give yourself that rating of 0 to 10, and you keep that to yourself. You do not have to put it in the comments. You don't have to tell me at all. It's just whatever is convenient for you. And I want you to just really feel, where is that, judgment, that resentment, that guilt, that shame, that blame, that grievance. Where are you holding that in your body? Just where do you feel it? When you think about that, do you feel heavy in your chest? Maybe it's in the pit of your stomach. Maybe it's in your arms. Maybe your shoulders feel really tight. Maybe your lower back feels really tight. Or maybe you'll be like me, and when you start thinking about it, you'll just get really tired and you'll start yawning for no reason whatsoever. It's just, you start yawning and you start getting really tired. And so just be aware of that. Okay? Be aware of that feeling. And I want you to focus there right now, wherever that is. Maybe it's the tiredness, maybe it's the pain in the back, maybe it's the tightness in the chest or the belly or the legs or whatever it is. I want you to focus there. And I know it's going to be uncomfortable, but this is how we begin that releasing process. So what I want you to do as you're focused there, and you can open your eyes and follow along or close them and follow along. But what I want you to do is I want you to put your non-dominant hand in a karate chop, like you're going to go hi-ya to something, okay? And then I want you to take your dominant hand. I want you to take your pointer finger and your middle finger, and I want you to put them together like scouts, like people, like Boy Scouts did, Scouts honor or a little salute. And then I want you to put your those two fingers just an inch below your pinky bone, just right an inch below it, not too far. And I want you just to lightly tap there as you now take full responsibility for yourself as you begin the tapping. And so we're going to start very general. And this is something you can do with anything, really. And we're just going to start saying, I forgive, and I am willing to forgive. And again, I forgive, and I am willing to forgive, even though it seems really hard, even though I don't really want to, even though I'm willing to forgive, and I really want to forgive. Something inside me says that this person or this idea or this situation doesn't deserve my forgiveness. Even though I really want to let it go, even though I know it's hurting me, even though I know it's keeping me from truly growing as a person. And even though it's really hard for me to forgive, and maybe I won't forgive it all today, I am still willing to love, honor, and accept myself as I am. and for my willingness to forgive. Okay, stop tapping, and we're going to take a deep breath in. We're going to hold it, and then we're going to gently and slowly let it out the mouth. Okay, now you can take your non-dominant hand or your dominant hand, it doesn't matter which one, or you can do both like I am. And you can go to the top of your head. Now, if you're not familiar with where the tapping point is, super easy. Put your thumbs inside your ears, and then wherever your middle fingers meet, that's your tapping point. That's a meridian. So that's where you're going to start tapping. And it's just a very light tap. It doesn't have to be hard. And we're just going to say, I am willing to let go of all the anger, all the frustration, all of the shame, all of the blame, all of this heavy guilt. And take that deep breath with me and letting it out as we continue to tap. And we're going to come down here to the third eye point, it's just right in between your eyebrows. And we're going to tap right there, and we're going to say, I'm ready for freedom. I'm ready to let this go to any degree, no matter how small. Because I want to move forward. Because I want freedom. And then we're going to come to the side of the eyes, right there on the temples, just right there. And we're just going to lightly tap there, and we're just going to say, I am ready for freedom. I am ready to let this go to any degree. I am ready to let this go. I am ready for freedom. And I know I can be the only one to set myself free from this. Okay, and then we're going to go we're going to go right here on the cheekbones. And we're just going to lightly tap right there. And once again, you can tap on both cheekbones. You can tap on just one. It's whatever's convenient for you, whatever feels good. And we're just going to start tapping there. And we're just going to say that even though I don't really know how to forgive this, even though I don't know how to let all of this guilt, all of this blame, all of this shame, or this grievance go, I'm willing. Because I want freedom. Because I want a life that works instead of a recurring pattern that doesn't. And then we're going to go right here underneath the nose, just right there, lightly tapping. One hand or both, it doesn't matter, whatever's convenient for you. And we're just going to start tapping there, and we're going to say, I am ready and willing to forgive at any level. Even if it's just a tiny sliver, I'm willing to give up some of my judgment, some of my story. And we're going to go on to the chin. This story is keeping me from truly living life. I'm simply trapped in a continuous pattern that only is showing me an illusion of separation. Okay, and we're going to stop tapping. And what I want you to do is I want you to put your hand either over your physical heart or just your heart chakra, which is the center of your chest, and just take a deep breath with me. Deep breath. Ready? 3, 2, 1. We're going to breathe in. We're going to hold it. And then we're just going to slowly and gently let it out the mouth like we're blowing out that candle. Okay, we're going to take another deep breath again. Hands still over the physical heart or the chest. And then just letting it out again. Okay, we're going to come here to the collarbone. Now, here on the collarbone, You can either tap on just the sides, you can tap on the center, you can go from the center to the sides, you can go to the sides to the center. You can do both, you can do one. It's whatever's convenient for you. And we're just going to begin tapping there lightly. And we're just going to say, there are times when I really want to forgive, when I really want freedom. But then this story comes back and I choose to make that story my reality. I choose to let that story replay. Okay, now we're going to go over our hearts, over our physical hearts. And we're just going to tap in just a little circle. And we're going to say spirit, or you can say God. It's whatever works for you. But we're just going to say spirit. As we take that deep breath. I have this really judgmental, sad, angry, frustrating, continuous story that I keep telling myself. And I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of feeling trapped and tired of feeling like I'll never be free of this. I don't know how to forgive. I don't know how to let this go, but I'm willing to be taught how to. I'm willing to let even the tiniest portion of this situation, my judgment about it, my story, I'm willing to just let a little bit of it go. Even if it's just the name, even if it's just one of the feelings, I'm willing. And then we're going to go to the other side of the chest. And we're going to say, even though I don't know how to forgive, even though I want to forgive, even though it may seem impossible to forgive, I'm willing. Because I'm done with this story. I'm done feeling trapped. I'm done living in the past. And we're going to come here to the center of the chest, okay? Right there on the sternum. We're going to tap right there just lightly. And we're going to say, Spirit, I am ready for freedom. Spirit, I am ready to give as much as I am willing over to you so you may take this from me and heal it for me. Because I don't know how. But I'm willing. I'm willing to let go of the belief in whatever it is for you. I'm willing to let go of the judgment, whatever that is for you. I'm just willing. And then we're going to stop and we're going to take that deep breath in. And then we're just going to slowly let it out. Okay, and then what I want you to do is I want you just to kind of tune in again to that spot where there maybe was some anger, some resentment, some judgment, a story, whatever it is. I want you to tune back into that and I want you to just kind of label that for yourself. Like, where is that? Did it go up? Maybe it was at a 10, now it's at 11 because you're aware of more of it. Maybe it was at a 3 and maybe now it's at a 2. It's really whatever happens is right for you. There is no right, there is no wrong. If you went up, that's okay because we're going to do another round of it anyway. And if you went down, fantastic. We're going to keep on making it go down. Okay? So this is going to be our last round. And remember, this is just for a generalized forgiveness tapping, because unfortunately I can't individualize it for everyone as much as I would love to. That's where my forgiveness workshop comes into play. And that's where you get to work with me for those 2 days, one-on-one. Hey, Shirley, thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. Hello, Renee. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. Hey, Shannon. Shannon. Hey, Sharon. Thanks for joining. Thanks for being here. So that's where, the forgiveness comes in and the forgiveness workshop comes in. And that's where you get to work with me for those 2 days. And then, of course, you get the recording and then it gets sent to you and then you can redo it as many times as you wish. So, and you can, of course, find that on my website, awakeningmiracles.org. So now that you've tuned in, now that you've given yourself that numerical value of that judgment, that story, that person, whatever it is. And if it's gone up, that's okay. If it's gone down, that's okay. Both are fine because we're going to do another round of tapping. And we're going to be just doing another round of general tapping, but it's going to be a little different than our first one. So we will just see what Spirit has in store for us, because with these scripts that I have, these are not ones that are written down. These are just Spirit inspired. It's just whatever Spirit wants me to say, that's what we say. And I just let it let it flow. Whatever feels good in that moment. So I can't necessarily type this up, because I can guarantee you I will not remember half of the things that I said during this time period, because it's just Spirit using me as the vessel to facilitate healing. And once again, it's not because I'm special or I have magical powers or anything like that. We all have the ability to be conduits for Spirit. Everyone is a conduit for Spirit because everyone is one with Spirit. It's just, are you willing to get out of your own way enough? So let's go ahead and let's begin our second round of tapping as we take our deep breath in again. And we just let it out. And we're going to let out that sound, allowing our bodies to just relax. And just taking a few slow, deep breaths, letting the body just kind of naturally rise with the breath and fall with the breath. Okay, and we're going to start back at that same point. We're putting our non-dominant hand up in a karate chop. Then we are taking our dominant hand and we are putting our pointer finger and our middle finger together like we're saluting or saying Scout's honor. We're putting those two fingers right below the pinky bone, and we're just going to start that light tapping right there. And we're just going to say, I am willing to forgive myself for believing my judgment. I am willing to forgive myself for living this story. There are times when this judgment and this story seems so right and so just, like I should hold on to my grievance, I should hold on to my anger, I should hold on to my frustration, I should hold on to my guilt or my shame or my blame, or I should project it onto others. There are times when it seems justified, but I'm learning that it never is. I'm learning that every time I hold on to my grievance, or every time I project it onto another person, I'm only blocking my own miracle. And I'm so tired of blocking my miracles. I'm tired of not seeing the light in myself. Because every time I put the light of my judgment or my story onto someone else, I'm blocking my own light. And I'm really tired of doing that. There are times that I really do want to forgive and I really do want to let it go, but then there seems to be a witness that comes forward and says, see, you can't let this go. Because if you do, you'll get hurt. If you do, it's only going to repeat itself. If you do, you're just justifying their bad behavior. And I really want to stop that story from playing. I want to stop being the victim of my own judgment and of my own story. We're going to stop tapping and take a nice deep breath in. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's breathe in together. We're going to hold it. And then we're just going to let it out. And we're letting out that sound. Really letting ourselves relax into this. And then once again, For those of you that aren't familiar with the tapping point for the top of your head, you stick your stick your thumbs inside your ears, and then wherever your middle fingers meet, that is the tapping point. You can tap with one hand or with both. Doesn't matter, whatever's convenient for you. And we're going to say, I am ready to let my judgment go. I'm ready to let go of the anger, the pain, and the suffering that I've been through. I'm ready to stop suffering. I'm ready to stop being in pain. I don't want this anymore. And I know that this is not the truth of me. I know this is not the divine will. And we're going to come down to the third eye point, which is right there in between the eyebrows. And we're going to tap right there. I am ready for freedom. Freedom from my judgment, which is causing me pain. Then we're going to go to the side of the eyes. And we're going to tap right there. And we're going to say, I am ready for freedom from my own grievances against myself and others. Then we're going to go here on the cheekbones, and we're going to say, I am ready to be free of the pain that I have inflicted on myself through keeping guilt or blame or shame. And then we're going to come here, and we're going to go underneath the nose, and we're going to say, I'm ready to forgive, even if I don't know how. And then we're going to come here on the chin. I'm ready to forgive, even if I don't know how, even if it feels like it's impossible. I am ready. And then we're going to come here onto the collarbone. And remember, you can start from the sides and go in, or you can start from the middle and go out. You can just stay on the middle. You can tap on both sides or just one, whatever's convenient for you. And we're just going to tap there on the collarbone, and we are going to say, I'm ready to be free of my judgments, of my stories. I'm ready to free myself from guilt and shame and blame. I am ready to align myself with the truth. I don't know what that is. I don't even know what it looks like, but I'm willing to align myself with it so that I may be taught and shown. Okay, then we're going to go over the heart. Once again, it's over the physical heart. And we're just going to go in a little bit of a circle. As we take a deep breath in, as we still tap, we're just taking that deep breath in. We're just letting it out. And we're just going to say to ourselves, and you can say God, or you can say Spirit, or you can say whatever your higher power is, but we're just going to say, Dear God, I have kept myself trapped and separate from you for a long time now because of this story, or because of this judgment, because of this guilt, because of this blame, because of this shame. I've kept myself separate. And I haven't really been separate from you. I've just veiled the light of truth that you are in me. And I'm ready to unveil that now in whatever capacity and in whatever way. I don't know how to do that, but I'm willing to do that. And my willingness comes from my ability to give this person, this situation, this story, this judgment about myself or a person or an idea or a government over to you. Because you know how to show me the truth. And we're going to go to the other side of the chest. We're going to tap in just a little circle again. And we're just going to say, I am willing and ready to forgive. And we're going to go to the center of the chest now, right there on the sternum. I am ready and willing to forgive. I am ready to be free of my grievances and of my pain. I am ready to be free of my story and my judgment. I am ready to let myself be freed from this as I lay this on the altar of love to be altered. And then we're going to come back and we're going to tap right there on the side of the hand again with our karate chop non-dominant hand, then our 2 fingers right underneath. And we're just going to tap and we are just going to say, I'm ready to forgive. I'm willing to forgive. I am ready for freedom. Grant me the peace that is already mine. Show me the peace that is already within me. Reveal to me the light that I am. And we're going to take a deep breath. We're going to let it out. And then we're going to do one more tapping. We're going to tap right here on the 3rd eye. And we're going to say, I am ready to see the light in myself so that I may see it in others. I am ready to see the light in myself so that I may see the light in others. Now, as something that's coming through right now, you don't have to do any more tapping unless you feel like you want to tap as I do the light language. Light language is just a set of frequencies and tones that are going to come through. They may sound like something you've heard before. I do not know what it actually is or what that is actually saying. It's just a frequency to attune you to the healing that is needed at this time. So if you want to tap as I speak it, you're more than welcome to. You do not have to. Zarvitesh narar ute alabara yelmahar yeshnavar ute tsavarar tanderis narvar uchnarvar itsna arvo unsnarar itsnarvar yeteravar uchna itaravahar yesnarvahar uchnirvaar immahar are sahar usnarvar yesnavar rare tasnarvar yesnavar itavar kare Alyavar, Ishnarvar, Kishnavar, Gerash, Taravar, Ushanvar, Kishnavar, Verash. Salar, vale la sea tolo valu talalve kanata la leoleta So, that is the toning and the tapping for today. I thank you so much for joining me and taking this opportunity to practice forgiveness, to practice setting yourself free. And I will talk to you all later. Stay tuned for tomorrow's posts. And then, of course, I'll be posting the cards for our weekend contemplation. And then on Monday, I will be coming live again, but I'll be doing the, what is that thing called? The monthly spread for September. So thank you, thank you, thank you.